Hi all, welcome to Cyber Warfare Lab's AWS Cloud Red Team course. In this module, we will discuss about how we can use command line utility to enumerate different informations about Elastic Container Registry, Elastic Container Services, as well as Elastic Kubernetes Services. So in this module, we will first enumerate the information about Elastic Container Registry, then we will enumerate the information about Elastic Container Services, EKS, and then we will enumerate the information about EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Services. So let's get started. So first we are going to enumerate informations about Elastic Container Registry. So basically registry is used to store your Docker images there. So what type of image is there, how many repositories are there, and what is the images which is contained, what is the tag will be there. So we'll discuss each and everything in this module. So okay, so first you can see I already configured my AWS CLI. One thing you should be noted that you need at least get as well as list permission on ECR. So once you have these permission, you can enumerate the information. So first we are going to enumerate information about all repository there in this container registry. Okay, so this command will give all the repository which is there in this particular container registry. So I'm using here describe repository command. So let's copy this command here, paste it here, and let's see. So you can see there is only single repository here. This is the ARN of this repository. This is the name of this repository, and this is the account ID. This is the account ID. This is the name of this repository. This is the URI. You can use this URI to access this repository. So it's basically depend upon if it's a public repository as well as private repository. If it's a public repository, anybody can access using this URL. If it's a private repository, you need a username, password, as well as token to access this repository. So this is information about repository. Repository basically is a folder where you can store, where you can have multiple files there, multiple Docker images basically. Okay, let's see. Second thing, what we are going to enumerate about the policy which is attached to this repository. So we can attach the resource-based policy to each and every repository that who can access it. So instead of granting access on identity and access management, or using identity-based policy, we can also define resource-based policy which can directly attach to the each and every repository. So let's see. Let's copy this one. It will give information about the policy which is attached to this repository. So I open a new tab, paste it here. Here you have to specify the repository name. So I'm just copying the repository name from here. Let's copy from here, paste it here. You can see repository policy does not exist for this particular repository. So there is no resource-based policy which is attached to this repository. But if there is a requirement and if there is a condition, you can find out during your red team operation that this user or this role can access this repository. And this is really important because during your red team operation or any other red team phase, you will find that how we can access the repository, because repository is the where we can have the Docker images basically. In Docker images, maybe we have a sensitive information as well as we can use Docker images for our persistence access. So, okay, so there is no policy which is attached to this repository. Let's see. Third one is what we are going to enumerate about all the images there in this particular repository. So first we discuss a repository, how many repositories are there. So we found there is only single repository, there is no resource-based policy. Now what are how many images are there in this particular repository? So this is really important because you can have multiple images in a single repository. So just copy this one, open a new tab, paste it here. Here you have to specify the repository name. So just copy from here and let's see. So you can see there is the two images. The tag of these images are latest as well as v2. So that means you can have multiple images or you can have the same images with different tag. So this is the SHA-256 digest for each and every images. This will really help when you when you found that somebody modified the code, or somebody added the backdoor inside the repository. So you can see there is a two images there in this particular repository. So this is a repository name, and these are the images which is there in this repository. So first one is latest and second one is v2. Then what we are going to do, let's describe the information about the images. So you can see there is a two images. So this is a command that will describe the information about container images. So I just copy this one. Okay, let's copy this one, paste it in a new tab. Okay, so I have to specify the image ID. So first what we are going to specify is a repository name. So you can see I have this repository. Let's paste it here. Now you have to specify the image tag in this format. So there is a two image, one, this is one and this is the second one. So let's copy this one and paste it here. Okay, you can see the information about this particular image or Docker image. This is a registry ID, that means your account number. This is a repository name. This is the SHA-256 for this particular image tags, and here you can see when we uploaded this image. This is help us to identify the time when it's uploaded and the size of this image. So both will help us if there is any persistency or anybody uploaded any malicious or backdooring image. So you can see the bytes of the size of this image as well as the time when it's uploaded, when it's posted basically. So same thing you can do for a second image. So you have to specify the tag you do. So this is the information about second image. So this is how you can get the information about images which is there or which is contained there in basically repository. So that will help, these information will help us to identify the image, type of image, what is the size of image, because we can use these information for our further red team operation, for creating the backdoor and for exfiltrating the data, because images contain the source code as well as data. So you can download the source code or you can exfiltrate the data which is there. So this is about how we can enumerate, how we can use command line utility to enumerate about ECR. Let's enumerate information about EKS, Elastic Container Services, or ECS. So now we are going to enumerate about ECS, Elastic Container Services. Okay, so first thing what we are going to enumerate is list of clusters there in ECS. So everything is basically based off clusters. So you can create a multiple cluster, you can have the nodes and all this thing in this ECS. So let's see how many clusters are there. I just close these tabs. Okay, now let's copy this command and paste it here. In this case also, the user which you compromised or which you are using to enumerating these information should have at least list as well as get permission on ECS. So you can see there is a two cluster. One is red team ECS cluster and second one is ECS cluster 1. So there are currently two clusters there in ECS. Let's see what other information we can enumerate. Second thing what we are going to enumerate about getting the information or describe the information about this particular cluster. Let's copy this one, that will give you the more information about this cluster. Open a new tab. Let's copy this ECS cluster 1. Here you have to specify the cluster name. Okay, so you can see this is the information about this particular cluster. So this is the ARN of this cluster, this is the name of this cluster, this is the status. Then you can see there is a container instance count 0. There is no container instance, but there is two running tasks. That means there is no EC2 instance, but there is two running tasks. That means they are using Fargate profiles. Two running tasks as well as one service account. One service, basically one service and two running tasks there. So this is how you can get the information about this particular cluster. You can also specify, let's see, let's clear this one. Let's change to cluster 1. Let's see, you can get the information. So you can see this is also active cluster, but there is no EC2 instance as well as forget profile, and you can see there is no task, no services running here in this cluster. So this is how you can get the information about the particular cluster in ECS. Let's see what other information we can get. So in first cluster we found that there is one services and 2 tasks is running. Let's see how what is the information we can get about the services. So this command will list down all the services in this particular cluster. So let's copy this one, open a new tab, paste it here. Here you have to specify the cluster name. So because in this cluster there is no services running, so let's copy the cluster first, red team cluster only. That's it. So you can see there is only single services running there that we already discussed. Let's clear this one. Let's go for a cluster one information. So you can see there is one active service, and this is the service which is running there. You can also get the information about this particular service. So what is there in this for these services? So you can see I am going to describe or getting the more information about this particular service in this cluster. So let's copy this one, open a new tab, paste it here. Here you have to specify the service. So this is the service name, sample app service, and here you have to specify the cluster name. So this service is running in this cluster. Let's copy this one, paste it here. So let's see what information we can get about this particular service. Okay, that's interesting. So you can see here, this is the service ARN, unique identity for each and every services. This is the service name. This is the cluster ARN where this service is running. Load balancer information, service registry, status active. This is really important. Launch type forget. So we are using the forget profile to running as a node. Task definition. So in this services, this is the first task we have. So each and every services you can have multiple tasks. For you can see we have a 2 tasks and 1 services. That means 1 task is running standalone and 1 task is part of this service. So in this service there is 1 task. You can create a multiple task in single service. So these all information you can see about the deployment. This is the ID of deployment, primary status, task definitions, pending count, running count 1. So desired is 1, no pending, that means only 1 is running. When we created launch profile and all this thing. This is really important when you're doing red teaming. You can see the VPC, where is this service is part of, where this task is running basically. Subnet, security group assign, public IP enabled, that means you can access these instance. Here you can see the information about role which is attached to this service. Then these are the information you can events basically which is running there. So you will get all the informations like all the logs, all the events here in this particular using this command line utility. But this will help you to understand about when you're talking about service, definitely there will be 1 task. If there is a task, you can see of what is task is running, where it's running, what VPC they use, how many profile or how many instance they use, how many nodes they use, are they using EC2 instance or forget profile. All this thing you can get it, all information you can get it from here. So this is also important. If it's publicly accessible, then you can directly access. What security groups attach, so that means they can restrict the access from the security group level. So this is how you can get the information about services. Now let's move to the second thing, task. So when we're talking about ECS, we have a service, we have a task, and we have a cluster. So service basically define how many tasks you have in this particular service. Task is standalone activities. So if you want to run something which is standalone, you want to create a service, you can directly launch a task. So let's see how many tasks are there. Okay, sorry, so I just copy this one. open a new tab, paste it here. You have to specify the cluster name. So I'm using here this cluster name. Okay. So you can see there is two tasks. So in this cluster, we have one service. This is the one service, and this is the task which is running there in this service. So you can see there is two tasks. This is a task first, and this is a task second. So one task is part of this service, and second task is maybe standalone task. So this is the information I got it for this particular task. So you can see here you have a two tasks which is running there in this particular cluster. So this is the task 1 and this is the task 2. Let's see what is there in this particular task. So I'm again doing the describe command to getting the results. So let's copy this. It will give the information about the task specific. You get the information about service specific. Let's see about the task. Copy a new tab, open a new tab, copy it here, specify the task ARN. This is the ARN of this task. Let's see about the first task. And let's copy the cluster from here. This is a cluster where I'm enumerating all these things. So let's paste it here. Okay, so this is that information. We'll get it. This is the ID. You can see this is the ID of this particular task. Type plastic network interface. So basically it will give the information about attachment. So attachment basically what subnet, what VPC, MAC address, private DNS, public IP address. So this is a public IP address. You can access each and every nodes or target profile from here. Then availability zone, connectivity type, it's connected, cluster ARN this task is part of. Then you can see here image, where we got the image. So you can see the image it's showing here. We get the image from ECR. You can also get the image from multiple sources, maybe Docker Hub or your private repository, but here you can see where I got the image. This is really important because once you have this information, you can modify the image, you can create the backdoor for your further active assessment, or you can dump the image, you can see the any sensitive information. That's why this is how you can do the data exfiltrations. So if it's running or not, network interface which is attached to this one, part is a group of this task, container which is a part of this one. So this is the information you can get it from here. So task definition, task ARN. So you can also modify the task in multiple times. The memory it's contained, launch type it's have. So this is how you can get more information about the task, about the services, how they deployed, what network interface they use, what public private IP they use, what VPC, what subnet they have. So these are the information you can get it about about a ECS, task, service as well as cluster. So we discuss about the cluster, we discuss about the task, how we can get list of tasks, list of services as well as individual information about the task. At the end we'll discuss about containers. If there is a container, so you can see there is a forget profile is attached to this one. When you see, you can see there is a forget profile. This is the forget profile which is a launch type, but there may be a case that there will be EC2 instance where you are running your own containers. So it's basically depend upon the organization to organization how they can use it. So if you can see this command that will give you all the containers in a specified cluster. So basically let's copy this one. Here you have to specify the cluster name. So I'll just copy this active cluster, and that's. So container basically, if you have an EC2 instance, what are the nodes which is there in this particular cluster. So this is how you can get more information about, because Then only you identify that how we get the initial access, how we can perform the lateral movement from one containers to a host, as well as host to the another, how you can escape the containerized environment, and how you can perform lateral movement from one node to another node. So that these information will help you to do all this, your further red team assessment. So now we discuss about ECS, Elastic Container Services, which is basically orchestrations to manage the containers. We are going to the next, which is really important. EKS, this is Elastic Kubernetes Services, because most of the organization are using Kubernetes. So how we can enumerate information about this thing. So first, what we are going to enumerate, same like we did for a container services, we are going to enumerate about clusters, Kubernetes services. So first, we're going to enumerate about the clusters there in EKS. So this is a command which basically listed down all the cluster there in EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Services. So let's copy this one. Let's close all these tabs. Open a new tab. Let's close this one. Okay, here. Specify this one. So you can see here there is only a single cluster which is running there. The name of this cluster is Red Team EKS cluster. Now again, what next information we are going to enumerate, what is there in this particular cluster. So here you can see the first command will give you all the clusters information. Second, give the information about a specific cluster, but in detailed information. You can get it from here. So I'm using describe cluster command to get the information. I think you have to use the name cluster name here. So let's copy this one. Let's open a new tab, copy this one. Let's not here. Let's see, you have to specify this one. You have to change it from here to this one. Okay, here you have to specify the cluster name. So this is the cluster name. Okay, so you have to use the name itself. Okay, so let's copy this one only. No need to use the cluster name. Yeah, so let's clear this one. Let's remove this one. That's it. Okay, so you can see here, this is the information about this particular cluster. Name is Red Team EKS cluster. This is the ARN of this cluster when we created. This is the endpoint basically to access this cluster, to access the, you can say, master node or control plane. This is the endpoint. This is the role which is attached to this cluster. This is the VPC where this cluster is hosted. The subnets, VPC ID, security group which is attached to this one. And you can see publicly access CIDR. Who can access this IP, this endpoint? So it's basically defined publicly accessible, so anybody can access it if they have the certificate, credential, or authorized to access this one. This is also OIDC, identity. You can use this one to access this cluster. This is certified authority, which is really important when you are trying to communicate to API or endpoints. So these are information you can get it from here. You can use this endpoint to connect to the cluster. This is the ELO cluster version, basically Kubernetes version we are using here. These are the information you can get it, because you can use this information for further red team assessment. And this is really important. If this endpoint is publicly accessible, true. If this endpoint private accessible, false. That means if worker node try to connect to the control plane, they have to go route through the public or internet gateway. So this will help you to understand about what architecture they have and how we can perform our red team assessment while enumerating, to keep in mind of all these informations. Now second thing, what we are going to enumerate about list node. So basically node groups. So node basically, suppose in two type of nodes are there, or basically worker nodes are there. One is forget profile and second one is EC2. When we say node groups, that means there will be EC2 instance to running your containers. So let's see, is there any EC2 instance running for this particular cluster or in Elastic Kubernetes services. Here you have to specify the cluster name, paste it here. So you can see there is only one node group. In this node group you can have a multiple EC2 instance. So let's see, we have to describe about the further information about the specific node group. So same, I'm using describe command. Copy this one, open a new tab, paste it here. Here you have to specify the node group name. So I copy from here, you paste it here. Then you have to specify the cluster name. This cluster and this node group, we are getting the information about these. So let's change it here, and that's it. Okay, same here, you will get the information about the node group specifically. So this is the name of this node group. This is the ARN basically of this particular node group. Then cluster name, where this node group is part of. The version, say Kubernetes version, modified, state. This is scale type, maximum size 2, minimum size 2, desired size 2. You can see the instance type, subnet. This is also important, remote access. Can we access this node from using SSH? Yes, you can see publicly a remote accessible enabled. So you can directly access. If you can find the key somewhere, you can access the node directly, or you can get the initial access using remote code execution or any web-based vulnerability. This is a node which is attached to this node group, and this is also important because if you have a higher privilege, you can do a lot of other activities there. Auto scaling, you can see here. Remote access security group, so you can see who is allowed to connect, or what are the IP they are allowed to connect to this particular node. Disk size 5 GB, you can see here. Is there any health issue? No. So these are the information will help you to understand about how many nodes are there. So for your red team assessment, you should compromise all the nodes and you get access the control plane as well. So this is about, we got the information about here, like all control plane related informations. Here we got the information about the particular nodes or worker nodes basically. So we, like in this case, we got the information about master node, or we can say control plane. Here we get the information about worker node, and this is really important because in your red team assessment, you get the initial access. Most of the case, you get the initial access by compromise, web-based vulnerabilities, or basically if there are any web-based vulnerability, remote code execution, or any other kind of vulnerability, you can get the initial access via these vulnerability. So then you have to identify where is node, it's where your container is running, how you can escape the container to access full access on the node, how we can compromise all the nodes, then how we can compromise the worker nodes node group basically, and how we can access or how we can literally move from worker node to the master nodes. So this one now you maybe also found that there is a node EC2 instance as well as there is a Fargate profile is also running. So this will give the information about is there any Fargate profile which is working as a worker node or which is used as a worker node. So let's copy this one, open a new tab, paste it here. Here you have to specify the cluster name. Let's see if there any Fargate profile is attached to this one. No, so there is no Fargate profile, but there is maybe a case inside the one cluster you can have multiple nodes. Each node you can have a multiple EC2 instance, as well as there may be a Fargate profile, and you can also get the information. So here if there is a profile, you can see these are the profile there, and you can also enumerate the information about this particular profile, same like we did for the nodes. So this is how you can enumerate a lot more informations about ECR, ECS as well as EKS. So that will help you to perform your further red team assessment. And these, you can use this information to getting the initial access, to compromise, to perform the privilege escalations, to maybe data exfiltrations or maybe persistence. So it's basically it's very case to case what purpose you can use it and what permission they assign to this particular cluster and what data they have. So these are, but enumeration is really important for all the cases. So this will help you to perform your red team assessment. So this is all about this enumeration video. In next video we'll discuss about how we can do other activities or other exploitations. So thank you for watching this video. Thank you.